Joined now in the studio by Hilary Cottam, a social entrepreneur who started a number of initiatives tackling the root causes of poverty, and Baroness Philippa Stroud, who used to work for Ian Duncan Smith, the Welfare Secretary, and is now Chief Executive of the think tank, the Centre for Social Justice. Morning to you both.
Morning.
Philippa Stroud, first of all, it'll seem a curious question to some people that poverty might not simply be not having enough money, but is that your view?
I think if you asked anybody on the street what is poverty, they would say immediately it's not having any money. But what you have to do is look at what drives a family into not having any money. And it starts with the kind of understanding of, if I'm born into a family that's stable, I have a good education, or any education, I don't get into addiction or debt, and I have a job, very unlikely to be poor. If one of those drivers reverses, then I'll probably still be okay. 2, it gets a bit tricky. 3, I start destabilising. 4, I have a problem. And 5, I'm really entrenched. So unless there's another intervention of the sort that David Cameron is talking about today, I'm very unlikely to change my circumstances.
Hilary Cottam, nobody would disagree that these are other factors, but I suppose they might worry that a government, a Conservative government, would be using this as an excuse for not giving people the money they need to not be poor.
Well, I think poverty in the 21st century is extremely complex. I think it is fundamentally about money, but it's also of the mind, imagination, social connections. I mean, we've seen very clearly in the work that I've done that finding a job very much depends on who you know, and of course who you know depends on income. But yes, you're right. I would be very worried about a strategy that takes a focus away from core issues of poverty and inequality. I mean, that we have to kind of tackle deep issues of inequality, and some of the other symptoms that we see, such as addiction, are firmly rooted in those kind of economic circumstances of families.
Now, you and the organisation you work for have worked in particular states with problem families. The effort now made by most people in the area is this, isn't it, which is you do try and work across all these different problems, rather than one set of social workers for this and a charity for that, and so on and so forth.
Yes, well, I'm obviously proud that we've had that impact, but I think there is still the idea that, for instance, the focus on early intervention means that you've now got, in some local authorities, people concentrating on the under 2s, sitting in services that have been utterly ravaged. And with a family that's got complex issues, you can't just go in on one under 2 when the wider support is no longer there.
Philippa Stroud, isn't that a problem? Which is the Prime Minister can talk all he likes about parenting classes, but if local councils' budgets are being slashed, I mean, the truth is the help won't get to the people who need it.
Well, today's announcement is about putting some money back into the system. So it's about relationship support, it's about family support and parenting support, and the mental health support too that is so needed. One of the reasons why he's going for these estates and for rebuilding these estates is because he wants to tackle the gang culture. What's at the root of gang culture is a craving on behalf of some of these young men for the presence of a father. So he's absolutely right for going for these transformational programs of bringing in parenting support and relationship support.
Isn't the danger he simply slashes money from local councils and then gets credit in a press release and a speech for giving a little bit of it back?
I mean, what I would say today is that this is also a challenge of scale. This is a small amount of money, and what we need is scale.
A last one. Interesting idea, this idea of actually just getting rid of a lot of these tower blocks, getting rid of them altogether. Do you believe, Hilary Cottam, if it's properly funded, it can work?
No. I mean, I really welcome the fact that the Prime Minister is re-embracing social change today, but we've seen fashions move. We know that it matters who lives in these estates. We know that what matters, as I've said, is social connection. And we've seen that increasingly as estates are bulldozed, what's happening is that they are becoming places where people who have less economic means can't live. And as I've said, that if you live in ghettos, you don't have wide opportunities, and I think that's what I'm worried will happen.
So why are you convinced, Philippa Stroud, there may be something in that idea?
Because rebuilding these estates is about a physical regeneration. Nobody wants to live in run-down estates. But also what he's announcing alongside this is the parenting and relationship support, which is about rebuilding lives.
Philippa Stroud, Baroness Stroud.